Hi, friends, and welcome to season 5 of the T21Mom podcast. And if you can believe it, this is episode 89. We're getting so close to 100 episodes, which for me is really exciting. I still remember that rainy day that Ron and I met in a Starbucks to talk about what this podcast would kind of look like and coming up with different ideas. And I wasn't really sure where it was really going to go, but here we are at almost 100 episodes. So it's really exciting. And thank you for being here with me. As I'm sure many of you know, my name's Mary and I'll be your host. And my daughter is Ainsley, and she's now 10 years old, if you can believe it. And she's rocking an extra chromosome, also known as Down syndrome. And I'm living life my way. Now, in past seasons, my good friend Ron has joined me as co-host, but he has decided to sort of step aside because he's become quite immersed in his own personal projects. And, so he doesn't have the same amount of time to devote to the podcast, but he did tell me that he would help me with any kind of technical issues, which is great because I'm sure I'm going to need that help. But for right now, I'm on my own. So just bear with me, but I'm going to do the best that I can. And I know it's been a bit of a late start to season 5. I don't usually like to start this late in the year, but I just really needed a bit of a break and to kind of regroup. The lead up to Christmas was crazy, and Christmas itself was, a really busy time, as I'm sure for most of us it is. And, here we are now in February. It just like time is going by so fast. But, I'm really excited to be back, and I've already got some great episodes lined up for you. And one of the things I'm going to be doing this season is I'm going to be talking to a couple of different authors. And the first one is Mika Caldwell, who I actually met her at the retreat. And she has a series of these wonderful books all about her son, Anayan, and showing representation as a Black family. Because when Anayan was younger, she was looking for books that pictured families like them, like as a Black family, and she couldn't find any. So she decided, well, I guess I have to write them. And so she did. I think she's on book 3 or 4, so which is quite exciting. But we talk about the series, and they're wonderful books that I'm sure you'll really enjoy. And another episode that I'm really looking forward to is with a lady named Rose Reef. Now, I saw her at the retreat, and she gave like a really fabulous presentation at the retreat. And she's actually a counselor who works with parents of children with special needs. And she also works with people who have intellectual disabilities or special needs, such as Down syndrome, which I think is pretty cool. Like, I don't think I know of anybody who does that. And I think that's a really unique talent, but also a very needed one. And we're actually going to talk about grief. It's something I've wanted to talk about for a while. I know it can be kind of a little bit of a taboo subject, but I thought about it. I thought I'd put all the grief, of Ainsley's Down syndrome and her autism diagnosis behind me. I thought I had dealt with it, but, not even that long ago, my own counselor had mentioned it to me, and because she felt I hadn't really dealt with the grief of Ainsley's diagnosis. And I was kind of put off a little bit. I thought I had dealt with all of that a long time ago, and, that it wasn't even an issue. But I started thinking about it and I'm thinking, well, is it? Ainsley turned 10 in November. And, although it's exciting that she's, now double digits and she's becoming like a little lady, I kind of had some pangs of sadness, wondering, how her life is going to go, like how school's going to go, because that in itself has been a challenge. Is she going to have meaningful friendships? You know, is she going to reach all of her milestones? I don't know. And I long for sometimes those conversations that we might never have. And it kind of made me really kind of sad. I'm not sad for my daughter or the life that we have. I'm very, very grateful for the life that we have. But it just, it was a lot to kind of ponder and to think about. But, I had such a wonderful conversation with Rose, and, it was really awesome. And she gave some really great advice and insight that I think all of us can benefit from, regardless of where we are in this Down syndrome journey. And another mom that I spoke with is Kristen Condon. And we're talking all about self-care. Now, I know self-care is kind of very trendy right now and, a hot topic. Everyone's talking about it. But, Kristen really gets it because she's walking this path with us. She has created these 8 different areas for us to focus on for self-care. And I really loved this because it was all very, achievable. And I felt very easy to implement. I really think you will get a lot out of this episode. It's, I think, so important for us mamas to take, care of ourselves. And like I said, a lot of these things you might already be doing and not kind of realizing that this is part of self-care. But I just thought, wow, like I can do this. Like this is, it doesn't have to be hard, but it's just something that you need to sort of kind of plan into like your daily routine. And I also had a really wonderful conversation with a fabulous lady named Darcy Day, and she's a real firecracker. She tells this incredible story about how her son, who has Down syndrome, autism, and also apraxia and is non-speaking, and how at the age of 18, he learned to communicate through spelling. It's like a really fascinating and intriguing story. I found her in a Facebook group, and and then we started chatting, and I thought this story is amazing, and I think it will really give parents, especially those of kids with the dual diagnosis where communication might be a real challenge, some real hope that, communication is possible. It might not be actual speaking, but where you can actually communicate with your child. And it's an amazing story. And I'm sure you're going to love it. And another really amazing conversation I had was with a gentleman named Brady Murray of Rod's Heroes. And it is such a moving and heartfelt conversation about his organization, Rod's Heroes, which is helping to find forever homes for children with Down syndrome and other disabilities who are in orphanages. And I literally had tears during this conversation, and some of the stories are really, truly kind of heartbreaking. But he is so passionate about what he does and what he's doing. Like I think you'll really love this story, and go check them out on Instagram, Rod's Heroes, and find out who Rod is. I love the name. You'll find out in the episode who, for lack of a better word, who Rod is. But it's such a wonderful organization, and I think the work that they're doing is so needed. And I've been following along with them on Instagram and getting a chance to meet a lot of the kids that they're trying to match with forever families, and it's really touching and heartwarming. But at the same time, it's also a little heartbreaking that these kids, they just really want to find their family. And what they're doing it's really amazing. And this is just some of the upcoming conversations that I'm going to have on the podcast this season, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I also really want to hear from you. Like, what things are important to you? Like, do you have a story that you would like to share? Do you know of someone who has an intriguing story? I think we all have a story that we can tell. And I also want to know what's important to you. Like, what kind of things do you want to hear about? If there's experts you want me to try to find, or information you want to know more about on, just let me know, and I will see what I can do to try to make it happen. Because this podcast, it's for you. I want to share as much as I can with others. And this is sort of part of, like, as Kristen told me, this is part of my self-care too. And and I really enjoy sharing all these different stories with you, and meeting all these amazing people in this wonderful Down syndrome community. So, I would love to hear from you. So thanks for listening to the T21Mom podcast. And like I said, I would love to hear from you. Tell me your stories. What's important to you? What's going on in your life? You can find me at info, or email me at info@t21mom.com, or you can find me on Facebook. And I'm also on Instagram and Twitter at Trisomy21Mama. It would also really mean a lot if you left a little review for my little podcast to make us more searchable around the world, because we actually are really being heard all around the world, which just makes me so proud and fills my heart like so much. And it would help to make us more aware for other people to find us if you can leave a little review. So keep on loving on your rockin' kiddos, and I'll see you next time.